Okay, that's great. All right, I'd like to start on time, so if y'all want to have another minute just to get everything together, I'd like to introduce our candidates to start with. We have Joe Flescher and Elizabeth Siebert, County Commission seat, District Number 2. We have Joann Binford, Daryl Loar, and Tom Lowther, County Commission seat, District 4. Our intention tonight is to provide a platform for each candidate to display how they plan to serve the people in the capacity of county commissioner. This is not a debate. We will ask each candidate to respond only to the questions asked. They will have 2 minutes to do so. Bob Borelli, right here in the front, will signal the 1.5 minute point of your response by waving his flag. At the 2 minute point, he will lower the flag, at which point your time will have expired. As a general instruction to each candidate, please do not reference the response or responses of the prior candidates in formulating your answers. Please provide only your own unique response. Also, please do not mention another candidate's name. Should a candidate be referenced, that candidate has the opportunity and will be afforded 1 extra minute to clarify or differentiate the original answer. To the candidates, we do discourage you from doing that. To the audience, please show respect by listening and not chit-chatting with each other, and also hold your applause to the end. Okay, so are we ready to begin? All right, the first question. A good leader's credentials are based on a series of successes. A great leader's credentials are based on overcoming a series of struggles. How does your background uniquely qualify you for this civil servant role? And we will start with Joe.
Thank you very much for the question. I will tell you that I have an extensive law enforcement background with the New York City Police Department, as well as the Indian River County Sheriff's Office. I've also been your county commissioner for the past 16 years, since 2006. I believe that I've overcome a lot of adversity and diversity with the trials and tribulations of an economic downturn, the threat of charter government, as well as several hurricanes that we've all endured, as well as a lot of changes in the composition of the county environment, population-wise, as well as the structure of the government itself. We have had many concerns, and we've overcome them as a group. There are 5 county commissioners, and I'm 1/5 of that decision. And I believe that I stood in a conservative or proactive fashion, and I can overcome a lot of adversity. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Next, Elizabeth Siebert.
Thank you for the question. It's an excellent question. As a small business owner through a pandemic, I can tell you a lot about adversity. And I can also tell you about bootstrapping it and pulling yourself up in the middle of a pandemic when sales are down and there's no hope on the horizon, but you stick to the course and you continue to work. I also started a nonprofit during the pandemic in order to employ people. Because artists, all the art shows in the country and in this county were shut down. So I opened up a nonprofit and I allowed artists to come in and sell their products so they could make a living. Thank you.
Joann Binford.
Hi, I'm your new candidate. I've never been in politics, so my experiences are life experiences. I grew up in New York in a blue-collar family, a poor family, and I was the youngest out of 5 siblings. My mom worked at a chiclets factory, and my dad worked for the post office for 42 years. We had struggles with family and bills, and then when I moved here to Florida, I was married for a while, and then when I got divorced, I went into some financial struggles. My house went into foreclosure because I wasn't making enough money to pay my bills, and I really had to to work a second job. So I know how to balance a really tight budget. And I did that. I managed that as a single mom working for the school district. And now I'm doing much better, and I grew. I bought my first house here on my own after the divorce, and I know those struggles are very hard. I used the SHIP program, and after I did really well, I paid back the SHIP program. So that was a leg up. It helped me. So I'm bringing real life experiences to the table. I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Excellent. Loar.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Loar. A lot of familiar faces are here tonight, and it's an honor to see. I haven't been to one of these in about 6 years, a debate, that is. 33 years ago, I was 20 years old, and I applied to be a state trooper when I was in the University of Florida. Fast forward, 33 years, I just completed my third term as your Indian River County Sheriff. I was the 10th Sheriff of this county, and I served from 08, end of 08, until January 5th of 2021. I realized I retired at 53. I had options. I had options to be a vendor of a lot of things, some other races and the like. But I purposely bought my house in District 4 in 2017 because I had conversations with the commissioner that's retiring and knew that he was not going to be running in 2022. As far as life expectancy, as far as life, shouldn't say that around. Sorry. But friends, I'll tell you, at a tender age, 21 years old, state trooper, I was stationed here in Indian River County, 1988, 1989. About 2.5 years, I had the opportunity to go to Miami. Went to Miami so I could simply promote through the ranks and earn a better living than $19,000 a year because it paid more down there. Everything from Value Jet Flight 592 to Hurricane Andrew, to the recessions, to protecting Prince Charles, all the presidents that came to South Florida. 20 some odd years ago, I moved back here. I was a regional commander of the Florida Highway Patrol for a decade. Met a lot of good friends here. 2007 was encouraged to run for sheriff, which I did. I won in 08 with your support. I won in 12 with your support. And I won in 16 with your support. And in 169 days from today, I hope to have your support as well. Thank you.
Excellent.
Do we need to remain seated, Karen?
No, you can stand up if you want.
I might fall off too. And before I get started, I would like to introduce my wife, Vero. If you would stand up. My beautiful wife of 40 years, which this wouldn't happen if she wasn't behind me and pushing me for a third or fourth time. My campaign manager, Jenny Meadows, who's actually keeping me on track and making things happen. A little bit of history of myself. I'm a fourth generation Indian River County resident. I grew up here in Indian River County. Went to elementary school, junior high school, graduated from Drew Beach High School. Had the opportunity of serving you all as a county commissioner from 2002 to 2006. Had the unfortunate opportunity of being your county commissioner during the hurricane that hit Indian River County. And ladies and gentlemen, we were one of the few counties that remained in the black during the hurricanes in the state of Florida. If you want to talk about a job, I'm a licensed funeral director. I've been doing my profession for 43 years. I don't think there's anything tougher than dealing with someone who's lost a loved one, and that is extremely difficult. I ask for your vote August 23rd. Vote Lowther. Thank you.
All right. I know it was a joke, but you were referenced by another candidate. Would you like to take a minute?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right. I have to admit, I'm a little nervous up here. Thomas is our president, and he had to work tonight. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Karen Osbourne. I'm the vice president of this club. And I, in my nervousness, forgot a couple important things. Number one, Pledge of Allegiance. If you all don't mind standing. I would like to have a brief invocation. Dear Lord, be with us this evening. Help us to hear and positions of the people that we will be talking to today. Give us wisdom and discernment to be able to pick through everything and find what is important to us. Lead us in your way. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so question number 2. In an October 2021 article, the TC Palm projected that the county sees the potential for growth of 35,000 homes in the urban services area. Of that 35,000, 10,000 are already planned. What is your vision for Indian River County over the next 10 years? And how do you intend to preserve our quality of life? I would like to start with Elizabeth.
Thank you for the question. It's a very important one. Right now, I believe that we need to build smarter and better in this county. We need to manage our resources. Our land is our most valued asset at this point in time. Now, what I see right now that's going on is when I look at property values and I see how elevated they are, and to me that screams bubble. And so I'd like to commit, when I become a commissioner, to do a county buyback plan of our strategic buyback plan of our land so that I can insulate home prices and make certain that Indian River County stays as rich as it is and as wonderful as it is. Thank you very much.
Joann.
I believe a measured and well-thought approach to growth and development in our county is paramount. We need a balance of good-paying jobs to match the rising housing costs, food, everyday expenses, and fuel. I think somebody owes me some gas money. This brings me to career opportunities because I'm a strong believer that income plays a great role in growth and development. I support a free market economy. I would like to have conversations with both small and large businesses in an effort to attract well-paying jobs to our county. The potential for higher income professions that offer a career will strengthen our community and provide the opportunity of home ownership, which is part and parcel of ensuring responsible growth in our county. I believe we should seriously look at bringing trade schools to Indian River County, maybe the possibility of converting some of the mall space out there to support that idea. That's a place to start. Let's provide our non-college bound folks an option to learn a trade which will bolster our local economy.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. So first of all, our urban service boundary line was implemented in 1985, the year I got out of high school, and it hasn't been addressed or recognized much at all. In fact, we do have about 30,000 more homes available within the urban service boundary line. So the urban service boundary line is an opportunity that we can connect our infrastructure, existing infrastructure with, that we have in place, that we can service that urban service boundary line. Obviously, there's been discussion in the past about perhaps moving it west of I-95. That's for a board and others to decide, Board of County Commissioner and others. But more importantly, in November, this November's ballot, you're going to see an initiative to sell municipal bonds for us to purchase more favorable land that otherwise can be turned into residential neighborhoods. So that is one way that we're controlling the growth. We sold those bonds about 6 or 8 years ago. This November will be on your ballot, a $50 million petition to get on the ballot. So we're working on the language on that. That is going to preserve. I don't know about you, but if you watch the stock market, I think those municipal bonds might be a good buy come November. I know historically they do sell quick. And that, friends, is going to allow us to continue to purchase land that we need to keep Indian River beautiful. However, let me say this. With COVID, with 7,300 people moving to Indian River County in the last 2 years, with the state of Florida's increase being 16% its population, with the wonderful weather we had this weekend when our friends from tourists came down to visit our beaches, a lot of them probably said, hey, why don't we just stay here? So we have to be realistic when we start talking about growth, because COVID is coming. COVID is coming. COVID's not coming, thank God. The people are going to move here. We know that 895 are moving to the state of Florida every day. We have a strong governor.
Thank you, sir.
had, I believe, the pleasure, or the unfortunate pleasure, back in 2004 in Indian River County, was caught with this huge boom that came to Indian River County. At that point in time, sitting on the commission, we at that point in time instituted what we called the Growth Awareness Committee, which Joe Paladin happened to be here. He was the one that led that, which we had, I think, close to 15 to 18 people that served on that committee. What they did is brought back to the Board of County Commissioners about 15 or 16 different initiatives that made it tougher for the developer to do what he needed to do, which to this day I believe still holds true. Commissioner Flescher can answer that. Would be the fact that you have to have the infrastructure in place before you begin to work with the developer. The comprehensive land use plan has been working. The land development regulations have been working. Indian River County, ladies and gentlemen, has been doing it right. And I think if they continue to stay on top of that, we're going to be okay. Thank you.
Just what Tom said. Well, he referenced me. Yeah, good.
All right, well then, you get extra.
Thank you. But I will leave. I want you to know that, growth doesn't pay for itself. Development pays for itself. Developers need to pay for what they want to do. We have ample land. We have one of the finest sets of LDRs, land development regulations, and our comprehensive land use plan is intact within the urban service boundary, and there is ample land for inflow. The challenge is that the land is extremely expensive. This is the highest value that all of your land has been for many, many years. There is no magic trick to this. There is no governmental deal. Paying for property at the highest value is not going to get you workforce housing. It's not going to move it any quicker. What's going to happen is we're going to have to look at the uses and working with the developers for development understandings and their relationship with what they want to do with those subdivisions. Very quickly, you can have about 35,000 spots left. Why would we want to go beyond the urban service boundary when we have to pay for the existing individuals who reside here? You all would have to pay for the services because the new people that are going to live in those homes would not be living there yet. The infrastructure has to be covered somehow. And we have developers agreement to do that, that would be one thing. But in this economy, with what we're going through right now, I don't believe that that is the solution to the problem. The challenge we might want to use to, or the methodology we might want to use is, right now the highest and best use is RS10. RS10,
Thank you, sir.
development. Did I get the issue back?
Oh, yes, you do. Okay, my mistake. Can you time in for an extra minute?
RS10?
Give us like,
RS10 is the maximum. However, with RS10, we generally use RS8, and that is 8 units per acre. But with all the buffers and the retention and setbacks, we're fortunate enough you get about 4.5 houses, and I don't know what's living at half a house, but the 4.5 houses in that 8 RS8. So we might want to look at RM, we might want to look at some of the projects. There's one that's happening out west of town, or as proposed, that you will have some development in the neighborhood of about $200,000 for some accommodations. We have to look at smaller housing, and we have to look at tighter housing, but I don't believe that government should be buying any property to facilitate housing. Now, we should stay within the urban service boundary for years to come.
perfect. Okay, can you all in the back hear all right?
Not that good. They hold the mic up closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it gets closer, I'll be swallowing it.
Yeah, I know, but put it a little closer to your mouth, and let's see if the next question can be a little clearer to the back. Okay, as a follow-up, do you support the 90-40 project, which is an effort to have 90% homeownership rate by the year 2040 in all municipalities. And Agenda 24, which is an effort to place a moratorium on the building of rental houses in all municipalities until home ownership rate is greater than 90%, and have this moratorium in place by 2024. Should I start with Joann Binford, please?
No, I don't think we should have.
I just started learning about the 90-40 project, so, but when I was reading, I didn't agree with it. I don't have a lot of detail on that because I just started learning about it.
Well, thank you. To be honest with you, I'm not very familiar with 90-40 either. I will tell you this. 33 years ago when I came to town, a public employee, a teacher, a state trooper, a policeman, a deputy sheriff could not afford to live in Vero Beach. So most of us lived in Lakewood Park or South Palm Bay. And then things started to evolve, although we would come here and do our things and hang out in Vero and dine here and go to the beach here. We simply couldn't afford it. But I'll tell you now, friends, the rate we're going now, everybody in the room knows about home values. You know about homeowners insurance rates going up. In fact, yesterday the Florida legislature just approved a 1.6 increase by the Florida Insurance Association, a unilateral decision that they can do to us. They did it to us back in October as well. That's why your homeowners rates are up. But friends, we can talk about affordable housing, but you also talk about, when you talk to builders throughout the community, the raw material to build a house is going up. Now we see what fuel's going up. I was thinking about it on the way in tonight. You know, who's going to catch that? Who's going to pay for all of those increases? Well, it's us, the consumers, whether it's, you know, going to the grocery store or buying some lumber at Home Depot or Lowe's. But with respect to that, there's other initiatives out there like first responders, nurses, school teachers, and the like to get a double $50,000 on their homestead exemption, which would give them $100,000 on the homestead extension. But I'm going to tell you now, at $40,000, $50,000 for a school teacher or a police officer, they can't afford to live in Vero Beach. And that's where we have to monitor that, see what we can do. I know about the new developments that are coming in, and I know that we may have a developer tell us that he or she's going to sell brand new houses for $200,000. We know that's not going to happen. So we have to go to Plan B and focus on that. And I have some plans and some ideas on how we can do that. Thank you.
I'm not a strong proponent of the 940 plan either. Again,
Put it up your
was
mouth.
on the county commission in 2004 when they called for a moratorium, and we didn't do that. I think anytime you try to put a timeline on anything with the government, there's a problem. Indian River County has a great staff. Indian River County has a great planning and zoning department. And it has to go through those levels before it even gets to the level of Board of County Commission. And truthfully, a lot of these questions, ladies and gentlemen, sound great, but as a sitting commissioner, very rarely do you deal with the situations that you all are asking until it goes through the staff, unless it's an issue that comes before the board that needs to be voted. So I'm not a proponent of 940. Thank you.
Sir?
Thank you. I'm not a proponent of 940 at all. Look at where we are. You know, I don't know if anybody's aware, but the past 365 days, we have paid through various sources over 2,500 rents and mortgages. You heard that, right? Over 2,500 between SHIP, HVC, the old Section 8, some of it's federal money, some of it's state money, and it's local money. And it is not the answer to ensure that people are regulated to be renting. I don't believe that it's appropriate or fair, and I also believe that we can look at villas and multi-use and mixed use and make things a little more readily available and financially feasible for our workforce. those who want to reside in this great county without changing the composition or the community makeup of housing and how we appear to be from 18,000 feet or from where we walk every day. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an important question. I actually live in Gifford, and I see a lot of people that are impoverished and that live in low-income housing. And they want to live the American dream. They just don't know how to get there. Unfortunately, I don't believe government should be paying for the houses and giving out ship money and giving out different incentives to keep people in their homes. I believe the best possible way to keep yourself in your home is to get a good job. We need jobs in Indian River County. We had a very successful program with Redgate in the 80s. We brought a tech company in. Redgate was bought out by AOL. The people that worked at Redgate had really good careers and had good salaries. We're not talking about a homeowner's issue, or we're not talking about, we're talking about income equality in here, and people being able to work and being able to live and getting a fair wage when they work so they can live a dignified life, so they can live the American dream. As a school teacher, I can tell you, I could never afford to buy a $200,000 house. We don't pay our paramedics, our firemen, our deputies, or the sheriff's office nearly enough. They are overworked during COVID, and they are underpaid. The next 18 to 24 months, we're going to see a fallout from mental health illnesses to economics and addiction. 18 to 24 months. This is by the Indian River County Hospital that said at Cleveland Clinic. In 18 to 24 months, we'll see the peak, and we need to be prepared for that and to help everybody in Indian River County recover from COVID, because recovery is not done. We have not recovered yet. We still have a great hill to climb and climb it together. We need to prioritize what we do. Thank you so much.
Great. Okay, question number 4. According to another recent PC Palm article, over 1,100 manatees have died of starvation in 2021, approximately 1/3 of our manatee population. Septic system leakage and nitrates in the Indian River Lagoon were cited as a major source of the pollution that is killing their food. What is your proposal to modernize our utility infrastructure, specifically sewers, as they are near capacity already? Also, would you support requiring hookup of sewers if the lines were made available? I guess it's Mr. Loar's turn.
Well, thank you, and many of you probably know that the state of Florida is already sending dollars and funding us from going from septic to sewer, primarily in the Sebastian area right now, where we're concentrating that on. So what happens is, the closer to the lagoon, obviously, these older septic tanks create the leakage, which puts the nitrogen back into the lagoon, which is hurting the manatees, which obviously we know how that's happening. However, some 40 years ago, before the construction business kicked off as big as it did here, we had obviously less things going into the lagoon, less toxins. And over time, that muck has developed at the base of the lagoon, and the muck is basically strangled the seagrass that not only manatee but others enjoy. There are methods, and there are a lot of work that the current county commissioner is working on with respect to working with universities throughout the country that can help us replenish that seagrass. But the big question is, how do we get the septic to the sewer lines? How do we do that? Do we put some type of tax, an additional tax, or do we leverage them? How are we going to do that? Currently, there could be a special assessment on your property. If that would be the case, that would expedite things, but we still have thousands and thousands of septic tanks in the community. So we start on the eastmost side of our 22 miles of our lagoon, and then we work west. And then additionally, when you start talking about our infrastructure plans, that's also included. There's no more septic tanks being put in new homeowners associations. So that's a start, and we have to be patient and hope that that formula, amongst other formulas, can help save the manatee as well.
Thank you. Mr. Loar.
I also agree that there needs to be something. Again, we've been talking about the lagoon for the last 16 years, as much as I remember. And truly, we have lost the seagrass beds with exception down in the Osbourne Park area. That's still fairly strong there. Anything that can be brought to the level of the City of Vero Beach, the Board of County Commissioners in River County, it's going to have to be a dual partnership between the county and the state, because you're talking about some expensive funding that's going to make this happen. But obviously, I'm all behind whatever will benefit in your employment. That's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Flescher.
Thank you. And we have been working on the lagoon for many years, and it's a slow and ardent process. Especially with the advancement of the RNLP, we have developed a lot of aggressive plans. Currently, since 2007, you have 5 nitrogen and phosphorus reducing locations, and we are reducing the load, the TMDLs on the lagoon by about the weight of about 25 standard size vehicles per year. That's not the solution, but it's part of the solution. In addition, as we're speaking, there's 201 homes on the Indian River Lagoon in Sebastian that are being converted to sewer. And that is done through granting, participation with the community, and there is a match, and it will continue to grow and go like that as it has in the past. And I believe that we are losing our septic tanks at a reasonable rate. Can we get rid of all of the septic tanks? Well, there's a county that did that when mandatory, and folks are broke. I think that we can do it with an assessment, but it has to be limited and matched, and we will continue the process to reduce the load on the lagoon. That's only one aspect of it to ensure that our wildlife is protected. As far as the seagrass, all the data is not in on why the seagrass is gone. I heard Buck mention, Buck is a big factor. That's all the decomposing particulates that have settled in the benthic level, and it has to be removed. But removal does not guarantee instant growth. Thank you.
Yes, I get this question a lot on the campaign trail. I talk to a lot of fishermen that are losing their livelihoods, a lot of water enthusiasts that can't actually go out on their boats, people that actually have homes and properties on the lagoon, and they don't want to hear what we're doing because it's not enough. When you're having manatees and dolphins come up and die in the middle of the lagoon, whatever we're doing is inadequate at this point. I did read about the Bethel House Flushing Project. That's a study. I'm the researcher. I was for OSEP and USDOE, Office of Special Education, and the U.S. Department of Education. And what I can tell you is that doing research without finding a solution is a waste of money. We need a solution, and we need to take the best scientists. And by the way, government isn't the answer here. We can go ahead and talk to other peoples and find other models of places that have done this successfully, but we need to do it now. Because it's hit critical mass at this point. We just can't wait and keep doing study after study after study. It's a waste of money. Thank you.
Excellent. Ms. Binford?
Okay, I hear a lot of negative things about the lagoon, but the lagoon, our lagoon is actually in better shape than up north because our lagoon has, it has a good water flow, it has tidal flushing, unlike the northern neighbors. We don't have an out-of-control muck problem, and muck is the killer of seagrass. And FAU is working really hard at growing seagrass, and they have a large piece of property where they're actually being successful with the seagrass and replanting it. So it's taken decades for this lagoon to get into the shape that it's been. But we have a leg up because our lagoon has a good tidal flushing, and there's hope for our lagoon. Brevard County is struggling with the muck issues because they have a lot of muck and they don't have that good tidal flush that we have. So it's really not as bleak, I don't think, as we're trying to make it seem. Yes, manatees have died, but we are coming up with solutions. And we received $114 million for the wastewater management grant program for fiscal year 2021, 2022. And that program includes septic upgrades, septic to sewer conversions, and advanced water treatment. So yes, our lagoon needs help, but it's not, I don't think it's that bleak. We're still working on it, and there's solutions coming up, especially with the oyster beds, you know, putting them in there to stop the flow from killing the seagrass and clams. So, thank you.
Excellent. Question number 5. The Child's Trust was voted down by Indian River Shores and the town of Orchid because these two jurisdictions were not in support of the additional tax. What is your perspective on nonprofits / non-governmental organizations, also known as NGOs, obtaining their funding through additional taxes rather than raising support through private donations? I think we're up to Mr. Lowther first, please.
Are you speaking specifically of the children's services or all nonprofits?
In general,
In general?
specifically about the
Well, that's a
Children's
broad
Trust.
question, because there's a lot of different organizations that do a lot of different things pertaining to the children's services resource. So
Well, the question is,
that's kind of a new question from the standpoint of what's good, what's not. So I'm just trying to understand your question so I give you an answer.
the question is, do you support using tax money to support the nonprofit, non-government agencies versus them having to raise their own monies?
If it's necessary, because the question, I don't make that clear.
Sorry. Mr. Flescher.
The question is far and wide. I will tell you that we do have nonprofits that exist that start out with, of course, advocacy in mind, supported by the individuals who start that advocacy and develop a 501c3 that will then be built up and they stand for the cause. That's one aspect, and they're very efficient. No, we don't support many of those. There are over 900 501c3s available for your support. But there are some 501c3s that we don't think about, like the Humane Society. You know, we're required to have an ASPCA by state. So if we don't support the Humane Society, and you support the Humane Society, we would have to have a governmentally funded ASPCA. So they do the service. It's considered a quasi 501c3, and we support it as well. There are many like that. There's a handful that we support with your tax dollars to ensure that they are maintained. As far as maintaining some of the 501c3s that exist, there's a lot of duplicative efforts that are being done, and most certainly they're not all created in the same manner, with the same efficiency, nor should they be considered for funding. Some of these 501c3s are there for a single purpose, and they will serve to elevate the advocacy and, quite frankly, be helpful, but I don't think that the taxpayer should be supporting those particular entities.
Ms. Siebert.
I guess I have kind of a different perspective on this because I actually chair a 501c3 and ours is completely self-funded. I believe that government is the most inefficient way to run any type of organization. There is a place in our society for 501c3s. I would not give 501c3s money without it being checked. In order, the 501c3 would have to have matching dollars for anything they're given, even if we're required to have it. So the thing is I want to keep your money in your pocket. You're the best steward. There is a place for 501c3s. The children's services, we have a Children's Services Advisory Council. For 22 years, at least that I know of, they've had almost access to $2 million. It's over $1 million, and if you round up, it's $2 million each year. So in order for them to go in and ask to have a special taxing district means that they couldn't efficiently run the Children's Services Advisory Council on the money that they were being given. That is not a reason to create a special taxing district in an economy where the price of gas is $4 a gallon and a gallon of milk is $4. We can't do that to our senior citizens who are on limited income. We have to respect that. There's also a problem with the CARES money. As I understand, we were given a lot of money for the CARES, through the CARES Act, that was supposed to go to nonprofits, and they haven't been. So I would require a forensic audit of that money once I get to the county commission. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Binford.
Yes, this is a subject that I personally was really spent some time on. It's important to advocate a healthy philanthropic culture. To do this, we must be respectful to donor intent. Donors must be free to give to any cause or interest they choose. In this way, charitable giving contributes significantly to a flourishing open market of ideas, which is essential to a free society and driving societal movements. We currently have a committee called the Children's Services Advisory Committee, yes. It was created by the BCC in 1999 through a legislative act. CSEC has been serving nonprofit organizations in our community for 23 years. Sorry, I'm nervous. I've never had an interview with so many people. For 23 years, using our tax dollars from our general fund. But that gives us leeway. So if we're having an economic downturn, we still have access to our funds. When it becomes a government district, we don't have that same access. And I don't believe that we really should not be sustaining charities because it's no longer a charity. It becomes a government social entity. Once you're sustaining it and it's receiving constant funds, that's no longer a charity anymore. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's important to advocate a healthy philanthropic culture, but to do this, we must be respectful to the donor intent, which is essential to a free society.
Thank you. Mr. Loar.
Well, thank you. For a little over 12 years as a sheriff by ordinance, I was required to sit on the CSAC board, which I did. No problem. We would meet second Monday of every month. Did that for over 12 years. So just so you understand a little of the background, so the Children's Service Advisory Council was designed basically for seed money to get nonprofits that were working with children, specifically with children, with their needs, whether it be newborn babies like the bag you get at the hospital when your baby's born. That was one of those organizations came from CSAC, as well as Crossover Mission, Daisy Hope, those types of things. So you have to understand that those dollars, the trust wanted to petition to get it on the ballot, but what happened was Orchid and Indian River Shore said, no, we're not going to do that, which represented about 20%. So we're kind of glad that failed, because otherwise you would have that as another taxing district on your trim notes. But at the end of the day, I will tell you, we had about, during the recession in 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we cut CSAC back to under $600,000. And now as the economy's improved, yes, the CSAC funding has gone up. It's not a taxing district. It is a decision made by the Board of County Commissioners. But I will say this, having sat on that board for 12 years, I can assure you that everyone, I think when I was on the board for 12 years, there was about 27 of these nonprofits. But what happened was we would scrutinize them, reject them, lower them. They had to perform at a certain level. Performance-based budgeting is how we implemented that. And if it did not perform, they weren't refunded the following year, or we cut them in the middle of the year if they weren't performing. So it is a need for the community. Otherwise, the government would have to pick up those obligations. For example, Daisy Hope, there's nowhere in El Paso for children to play in the afternoon or stay in the afternoon. And yes, CSAC did fund that to the tune of about $60,000 a year. But otherwise, where would those children play after school?
Thank you, sir. All right, at this point, I think take just a 5-minute break, get up, stretch your legs, go back, get something to eat, something to drink, let our candidates catch their breath. Thank you. All right, everybody, can you all please take your seats again? We're about to start. to the candidates, I would like to remind you to hold the mic closer to your face because I think there are some people in the back who have not been able to hear clearly your responses. All right, folks, come on, sit down, stop. Break time's over. All right. Again, thank you for coming this evening. This is sponsored by the Republican Club of Indian River County. And as far as I can tell, I don't think Thomas is here yet, so I will continue as moderator. Question number 7. The character and health of a community can be measured by the diversity and health of small businesses. How do you propose to promote local small business growth and employment opportunities in our community, specifically high-paying jobs? I hate to say it, I lost track. Number 8 would be Elizabeth first?
No.
Okay, wait a second.
Joe. 7, you said it was number 7.
Is it number 7? Elizabeth, you're first. Oh, that motion, that was you? I'm sorry, folks. All right. Mr. Flescher, please start.
Thank you so
You
much.
want me to repeat the question because it's been so long?
Right? A little humor is necessary.
All right, the character and health of a community can be measured by the diversity and health of small businesses. How do you propose to promote local small business growth, employment opportunities in our community, specifically high-paying jobs? Mr. Flescher.
Thank you. We're already doing that with the Jobs Grant Program. Over 1,000 jobs have been created here in Indian River County over the years, where a company will move forward and have a business plan, provide the jobs, and after 1 year of the employment of those individuals, they are given a grant. They're also given tax breaks to ensure that they maintain their continuity on all their business applications, machines, and equipment that's used here in Indian River County. I think we've, the tangible items. I think we moved forward quite fashionably back in 2007 when we began a economic downturn, and the Jobs Grant program has been rather successful. You know, we also started a buy local advantage, which did stimulate the excitement of the community. Unfortunately, the matching of bids and for process and for local individuals, we could be doing the work here locally by local individuals, was not overtly successful. There are a lot of mixes to the equation. Look at our economy right now and look at the fact that we cannot get available employment for employees for employment that can do the job successfully on a continual basis. So with that, I believe that the Jobs Grant Program has been rather successful and has worked, and I think folks buy local and support the local economy.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Siebert.
Thank you for the question. This again is another really important one. I meet college graduates that are in Indian River County and families all the time that are just asking to be able to earn a living wage, to be able to get a home, and to be able to support their families. In Indian River County, they cannot find jobs that they need. So my plan is to create incentive, not only as tax incentives, but to recruit tech companies into Indian River County. I'd also like to expand the airport to create another aerospace agency to build airplanes in Indian River County so we can have well-paying jobs, so we can afford the houses that people want, and so they can raise their children with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Ms. Binford.
I agree. The jobs program, I'm not sure what jobs it's working with, but the cost of living here is high, and it's still hard to find a good job, a good paying job. A really good salary here to survive in Vero Beach and Indian River County is around $50,000 or more. So being a single mom, it's really hard to find that kind of work here. And I don't know what the jobs program has been doing, but I believe it's been focused on people with high degrees, upper level degrees. We have a lot of residents here that don't have bachelor's degrees, that maybe just have an AA degree or a high school diploma. We need good jobs for those people. And technical jobs, and trade schools, we need to bring those back. We used to have one in the high school. We used to have trade schools in the high school, and they're gone. They only have, I believe, just the automotive shop and maybe the one of the drafting classes. But we need to focus on those people as well that don't have a degree. And I think that's what I would like to focus on and bring those jobs and create those jobs here. But like one of the candidates was saying, we need to have industry come here. And we do have property out west. We need to think about collaborating ideas and how to bring industry here so that there's career jobs. There's real jobs with careers and health insurance and longevity. So that's what I would focus on. I would focus on trying to collaborate and bring those ideas to the table. I have a background in distribution, sales for electrical, and I also have a background in semiconductor industry, and I still keep in touch with my old employers. They were great people, and I would like to talk about that, especially with what's going on in China now. You know, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to make semiconductors here in the United States. So we really need to start thinking about that.
Mr. Loar.
Well, thank you. And the job grant program came about right during the recession. I recall very vividly as I was at every county commission meeting for 12 years. So what happens if you have an existing company or a startup company, there is a tax abatement program that you can apply for, and also it does last a year. The first year you have to perform what you say you're going to perform. You have to keep those employees, high-end employees, employed like you agreed to. Otherwise, it's retroactive to you on the taxes. Now let's think about our county, our Chamber of Commerce, not only here in Indian River, right across the street, in Vero, but it's also one in Sebastian. So you know, the bed tax, the tourist tax, which we've had an incredible tourist season the last 2 years, know that tourist tax is bringing in, or bed tax, some call it, for hotel room night stays. It'll be close to $4 million this year. So what that tells you is out of that $4 million, about half of a penny, by the way, that's 4 cents on each bed that you spend the night in. So what happens is Jackie Robinson Stadium gets a small piece of that 4 cents. The Beach Renourishment, in addition with our grants, gets a taste of that. And finally, our Chamber of Commerce gets a taste of that. That is a mechanism that is in place that seems to work. Can we work harder with our Chamber of Commerce in recruiting and bringing in the big companies and the big businesses? We can. But that's almost like a little enterprise fund where our bed taxes are paying for those 3 entities. And I don't know if you've been by former Dodger Town or Jackie Robinson, the young kids that are coming in to play and ball and staying in our hotels. I think we've got 2,300 hotel rooms in the county. So that's another opportunity to look at. That is a self-funding machine, and we have to continue tweaking that to get the right people here, as well as the new businesses and the businesses that want to promote themselves.
Mr. Lowther.
Thank you. Being a small business owner myself for the last 25 years with my wife, I want to bring it a little bit closer to home. What I've heard over the last 16 to 20 years is big businesses coming in here. Big businesses getting tax abatements. Big businesses getting this. We're a staff of 9 or 10 employees. They live here, they work here, they shop here. More important, I think we need to bring it closer to home where, okay, everything that a new business wants to develop or start costs money. Plans, engineers, permits. I'm talking a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't inexpensive. So as a city commissioner, I would love to sit down with the schools, begin to talk about a vocational program that I believe they already are looking at, because that is important to these kids that aren't going to college. Sitting down, devising some type of program with the building department, with the planning department, with the county administrator. What can we do for these small towns? I can tell you, when we started 25 years ago, I got no help whatsoever. And in my line of work, I was going up against 2 big funeral homes. And it was hard to go to a bank. They said, well, you'll never survive. You won't survive against him. I said, well, I need your help. No, we don't want to help. I found a bank, helped me. I can truly tell you to this day, you're extremely successful, thanks to my wife, and to giving the people the service they need. And I would have loved to have had some kind of help from the city and the county back in those days. So that's how I see it. Bring it closer to home for the smaller businesses. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. In general, what is your top priorities as a commissioner serving the community? Ms. Siebert.
Thank you for the question. As I said previously, my top priority right now is just to get us through this pandemic. In 18 to 24 months, we will see people have mental illness that never had mental illness before, and addictions will increase. Last February, we had 50 overdoses in Indian River County. We do not even have a detox center here. So no one, in order to manage addiction, they put them on what's known as medical assisted therapy. In order to get that, they have to go to a detox center. The state is overrun with addiction, so to get into a detox center outside of Indian River County is impossible, and to get inside one in Indian River County is impossible unless you go to jail. And the jail is known as the detox center here. So we need to address our current issues to get through this economic and health disaster caused by the pandemic. Like I said, 18 to 24 months is when you're going to see the worst of it. I'm the candidate prepared to handle that and to be there and to get us through that. Thank you.
Ms. Binford. In general, what are your top priorities as a commissioner serving the community?
My top priority is the taxpayer, the residents, the community. Doing what's right for the community. Listening to the constituents, protecting the taxpayer from unnecessary taxes, keeping government limited, and focusing on the growth and the development infrastructure. It's a whole package that is a priority because it all affects our quality of life. So listening and learning and being involved with the citizens is a priority because that's going to help me understand how to make good, informed decisions and do the research. Do the research on how it's going to affect everyone here in our county because our quality of life is important.
Thank you, Mr. Loar.
Thank you. My top priority come November when I take office as county commissioner is to continue to support our other 4 commissioners that are on the board, continue to work hard to make sound, confident, and competent decisions for you, 160,000 of you in this community. That's who I answer to. Follow that up, we've got some things that we need to shore up. For example, the funding of the fire department, quite frankly, the enormous turnover rate, not only the fire department, as the sheriff with 522 employees with over 250 deputy sheriffs, I quickly realized I had to shore that up. It's a retention issue and a recruiting issue. We cannot afford to have young firemen go into Martin County, Palm Beach County, Brevard County to make $20,000 more a year, and we simply turn out to be a training ground. This is just one of my priorities. By keeping the retention and recruiting up, increasing their pay and their benefits, in the long run is going to pay off, friends. It's the same with the county building department, the planning and zoning. We have a lot of turnover there, which unfortunately delays building projects. Well, there's turnovers going on because the county is not paying those professional engineers what they should be paid, quite frankly. Now we're grooming them, and the next thing you know, the homeowners are building their home, their permits are tied up because of the turnover that's going on in the county because we're not paying them enough and their benefits aren't the greatest. But at the end of the day, my goal is to get that house within the urban service boundary line built so it can be paying ad valorem taxes so the rest of us don't have to handle that burden. And we're starting handling that burden, we've got other burdens. Where's the commercial building? Well, I've got friends in the commercial building business that are waiting and planning for 7 months. These guys and gals have employees that live in the county, work in the county, but they can't start the project because the turnover rate in the county's building department. We've got to look at that. We've sincerely got to concentrate on that and make sure that we continue the lifestyle that we have in Indian River County.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Loar. Sorry, Mr. Lowther.
Thank you. I too would like to see, and I was really pleased back in 2002 to 2006 that I was known as the People's Commissioner. They had no problem getting a hold of me anytime they wanted to. They'd even stop by my business and talk to me. And one thing I was truly proud of is when I first got elected, I started having a monthly meeting down at the Vero Highlands. To this day, I believe Commissioner O'Brien is still doing that meeting once a month. And I'm proud of that because it gave the opportunity to residents to come out, talk to a commissioner, have issues listened to, have issues taken care of. And more importantly, I would love to explain to you that my very first meeting as a sitting commissioner, I voted to unify the fire department and paramedics. They at the time weren't unified. That was about a year and a half process to get that done, so I was proud of that. And it's one of those situations that the sheriff department came to us in 2005. He was losing many, many employees. He would hire them, he would train them, they'd leave. Well, that meeting, I remember Commissioner Wheeler sitting there saying he was going to fight the current sheriff that came in there. He came in for a pay raise. I think it was a 18% pay increase. I did fight for a 13% pay increase just to get these sheriff's deputies up to even keel. And that passed 5-0, even with the vote of Commissioner Wheeler, who voted for that. So it's first responders. Over the last 6 years, I think 300 firefighters have been hired. Over the last 2 years, 150 have left. We have to, ladies and gentlemen, we have to pay our first responders, our law enforcement, and truthfully, the fire district has a millage rate of 2.3%. I think that's something you'll see that needs to go up to keep these young men and women here and help protect us. That'd be my goal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Flescher.
Thank you. I promise you that I will be continually conservative and responsive to your needs. My priority, the people that are here, and the balance of the 165,000 people that live here in Indian River County. There's a reason why you moved here. There's a reason why you lived here, even if you're fourth generation here. There's a reason why you're here, and there's a reason why others want to be here. They visit, and then they want to relocate here. And we see that by the home bills, and we see that by the population growth, and we see that by the tourism dollars. Once again, it was mentioned that tourism has exploded here without the benefit of a theme park, without the benefit of major draws, because we have a wonderful existence here. And my focus is going to be on the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, the health, safety, and welfare. And that includes maintaining the personnel when you press that button for 911, that they will be coming to you in quick fashion. That's what you want. You also want to have clear roadways, you want to have safe roadways, and you want to have amenities. We have over 38 parks that are maintained for your pleasure, for your enjoyment, for your indulgence, and we want to maintain that. So my priority will be to continue to ensure that your quality of life is at the level and meets your expectations, nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 9. Red flag laws and constitutional carry are two issues in our community. What is your philosophy on private gun ownership and the Second Amendment? May I start with Ms. Binford?
Sorry, I have a strong belief on constitutional carry. It's not a privilege. It's a right. It's a right to protect yourself. It's a right to bear arms. So I'm all for it. I support it. And red flag laws, they're unconstitutional. Red flag laws should be abolished. They are not good for society. It's unconstitutional. We have the Baker Act. in place. There's no need for red flag laws. That takes innocent people and puts them and compromises them. It takes their guns away without a court order first. Well, they get a court order to get the red flag law, but it's not just. They haven't even been to trial yet. And then they can't even face their accuser in court. It's unconstitutional and it should be abolished.
Mr. Loar.
Thank you. 33 years ago, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and I can assure you that I was shooting sporting clays yesterday. I'm a gun guy, enjoy guns, certainly admire the Second Amendment. I'm probably not the only one on the dais up here that has a license to carry a firearm, and that is what it's about. Now, with respect to constitutional carry, as we know, that came in front of the Florida legislature in 18, 19, 20, 21, and all failed, and it is in the House this week, actually, and as you know, the session ends Friday, so the governor said that he will sign that. A lot of people view that in different ways, to be quite frank with you. So a constitutional carry, for those of you that may not know what we're talking about, currently in the state of Florida, you have to have a permit to carry your firearm, unless you're former law enforcement, military. There's a couple other caveats in that. But at the end of the day, what that equates to is constitutional carry is basically saying, in lieu of a permit, the United States Constitution gives you the right to carry a firearm. And we will address that when it comes from a law enforcement perspective. I think it's a good thing. I think it's gonna pass this year. Usually it takes 4 or 5 years for things like that to pass. Now, with respect to red flags law, as a professional law enforcement officer for over 32 years, my view on red flag is a little different. Red flag is protect victims, law enforcement, EMS, and others, because what happens is, unfortunately, if something happens, there is a flag that eliminates what would be an extremely dangerous situation. In fact, if you made a poor choice in a variety of Florida statutes, and we, as in law enforcement, took you to jail, maybe domestic violence in an egregious amount, maybe a Baker Act, that gives law enforcement the ability to retrieve those weapons until the court says you're good enough to return them, and that's when we return them.
Mr. Lowther.
Thank you. And I too am a strong Second Amendment advocate. I do believe that Indian River County, Board of County Commissioners made us a sanctuary city, if I'm not mistaken, which kudos to them. And I, as I did on the dais with Sheriff Wheeler, would have to agree with the person that knows the most about that, the red flags. So I can't say his name, but I agree with that. Thank you.
That was short and sweet. Okay, number 10.
Would you like me to answer the question?
Yeah.
I don't know.
My bad. Thomas, you want to come up and take over? I think I'm getting tired.
Tom, she's doing a fine job, just a little bout of fatigue. And Tom's here.
Okay.
Over 40 years ago, I did swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States. The Second Amendment is part of that Constitution. That's why I moved. I met with the sheriff and moved, and this is the 45th Second Amendment county in the state of Florida. We continue to move on. I do believe that it's your constitutional right and your privilege to be able to carry if you're a law-abiding citizen, and that you do not have any other issues that would prevent. That would include having had other experience with the sheriff's office or another arrest-capable agency that would have prevented that in the form of felony. But other than that, it is your right and your privilege, and I do believe, having been a law enforcement officer, that we have the proper tools to be able to identify and to prohibit those who should not have firearms to not have firearms subsequent to any involvement or arrest. I understand that. But I do not believe that the red flag laws, I think people will be identified incorrectly, inappropriately, unfairly, and you know what almost reminds me of many years ago when we tagged people like migratory deer. And I don't believe that that's appropriate, fair, very biased, and I think it's inappropriate because it could could stimulate an abuse of power and authority that, quite frankly, we should not have. And we should leave it in the hands of where it was, where our founding fathers wanted it to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Siebert.
I'm going to go ahead and be different here, and I'm going to actually agree that the Second Amendment is very important. The constitutional carry is something everybody should have. Further, I'm going to state that not only that I'm a constitutional conservative, and I don't just believe in your Second Amendment right, I believe in all of them, including illegal search and seizure, which is the Fourth Amendment, and that would include red flags. So unless you've done something, most people that have had felonies in the past have actually done their time in court or in jail or whatever that's been required of them. They've paid their fines and they're now productive citizens. I don't think if people make a mistake, it should be held against them for the rest of their life and they be denied their constitutional right to carry a gun. So I'm all for constitutional carry and I'm against red flag laws. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Now, question 10. It is said that how a leader views life issues can be indicative of how grounded they are in the conservative belief system. Please tell us your view on right to life, and could I start with Mr. Loar?
I can hear you. Repeat that.
Yes. It is said that how a leader views life issues can be indicative of how grounded they are in conservative belief system. Please tell us your view on right to life.
I think you said life. Right to life. Oh, I got you. I hear you. Yeah, so you talk about a leader, you talk about making decisions in difficult situations throughout my career, whether it be in Indian River County or Miami-Dade or Jacksonville. So you talk about a leader, you talk about somebody that's got the experience to develop and groom the younger generation that we're going to promote. Now, with respect to, I think you said right to life, that reminds me of House Bill 5, which was the first one to pass the Florida legislature that Representative Daryl passed with no abortions over 15 weeks and or excludes rape or incest. Obviously, I think the governor's already signed that, in fact. So I don't know how that ties in with leadership, or I'm not sure if I heard the question right.
Yes, right to life is the question.
I am pro-life, and I think with the line of work that I'm in, and truly, I'm going to and the reason I'm walking out here is they have me under the heat lamp. You can't see it. I asked my wife for powder, and I said, well, it's not happening. To get back to what I was talking, we all, I believe, had an interview with Republicans for Life last week, if I'm not mistaken. And they asked a lot of powerful questions, and of course, as I gave them my background and what I'm doing, they did have one gal sitting there with a picture of a 15-week fetus on her phone. And of course, those of you that know me know that I'm outspoken. Those of you that don't learn that I'm outspoken. I told her, I said, I don't need to see the picture. I see the real thing. And truthfully, if any of you all have the opportunity to do that, I don't recommend it. But that is my choice as pro-life, and that's how I feel. Thank you.
Mr. Flescher.
Thank you, Tom.
I got another minute. I would like to also say, we're going to have fun working on the dice together.
All right, now we can
I think we are.
go ahead, Mr. Flescher.
Thank you. I want you to know I'm very happy to have been born. And I'm very happy that all of you have been born. I am a Roman Catholic. I am a 4th degree Patriot Knight with the Knights of Columbus. And I don't think I have to say any more about that. I believe in the right to life. Simply stated, at the commission level. It's very nice to know, but at the commission level, we will not probably never see an opportunity to have that decision reflected on the dais. gotta repeat it again, that's a Supreme Court decision that is been visited, will be revisited, and hopefully it goes in the proper direction. But I want you to know that we will never be able to address it at the commission level. I appreciate the question. You want to know my lifestyle? I'm very happy to know that you all believe in that same manner too, because life is wonderful, and every birth has the opportunity to grow.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Siebert.
Thanks for the question. Yes, we all were, I guess, believe all of us were interviewed last week for Republicans for Life, and it was actually a wonderful interview. As a Roman Catholic, a devout Roman Catholic of St. Helen's Church, I feel like I could answer that question pretty easily. I'm pro-life. But also, I do believe the commission has a role to play in this. If you can make a proclamation for the Second Amendment, you can make a proclamation to make Indian River County a pro-life county. I went to a clinic where they provide supports and services to women that are pregnant, that have special needs, that have addictions, and they work with those families for a very long time. And the women get all kinds of classes and supports and services, and so do the children. And so every class they attend, they have 200 classes. And every class they attend, they get educated, and they're given either a little baby outfit or diapers. They encourage the fathers to participate. It's a wonderful, wonderful program in Indian River County. I support it wholeheartedly. I am pro-life, and I believe we should have a proclamation for being a pro-life county.
Thank you. Ms. Binford.
I am also pro-life, and I actually think I volunteered for that organization that she was just describing. Life begins at conception, and I would do anything I could to protect that, because that is an innocent human being, and if I can't put my life and my own self in place of that human being, then I'm just a killer too. So I believe that life starts at conception, and if I was on the county commission, I would also be supporting right to life.
Okay, and finally, is there anything you wish to say in closing? You can address something you think we missed, or use the time to provide a brief summation of your candidacy. And for this, I'd like to allow 3 minutes per person. Yeah. So let's give the timer a second. Are you ready? I will start with Mr. Lowther.
I truly like to say August 23rd is an important day. And the reason why is Commissioner O'Brien is retiring after 16 years on the commission. I truly believe that, in my mind, it makes sense to elect someone that has the experience, someone that can start day one on the dais, someone that doesn't have to learn the job, he knows it. I would like to state that I am a certified county commissioner. That's a 40-hour course that commissioners go through. I would like to state that I was elected to the Indian River Mosquito Control Board in 2014, and again in 2018, served as chairman in 2017 and 2020. And a lot of you all are probably going, what is the Mosquito Control Board? It is a special taxing district, and truthfully, there are mosquitoes that can kill you. That's how important our mosquito control is. As my decision came forward, my seat happens to be up this year for mosquito control, as well as Commissioner O'Brien retiring. And I have such a passion for this county because I live here, my kids live here, they work with me in my business, my grandkids are here. And it means so much to me to know that I can start on day one and not let you all down. You all have my phone number. You all can get a hold of me. And more important, I think what sets me aside from any of my candidates is, ladies and gentlemen, I own my own business. I haven't lived off the government. And let me tell you, not only have we owned our own business, it's a hard business. I look at the county commission as being easy compared to dealing with someone who's lost a loved one. And I want to take that opportunity to ask you, I would love for you to hire me is your next county commissioner for District 4. Thank you.
Excellent, Mr. Flescher.
Thank you. Well, I'll start off with saying, I think I can hit the ground running. I want to tell you that I have appreciated the privilege and the honor to work with you and for you. I said with first, because I have been approachable, and I want you to know that I hear from people early in the morning and late at night. As long as it's a late at night question, you can call. But I want to start with something else. See that lovely lady up in the front here? That's Rosemary, that's my bride. 33 years. And she has stood by me throughout the endurance of law enforcement and the county commission. And sometimes it is taxing. She also, we raised 2 children here in Indian River County, and both of them are graduates of the United States Air Force, and they are captains in your United States Air Force, and it's a privilege and honor to have had the experience moving here 26 years ago and having the opportunity to raise our children in this environment, and I'm very grateful that you all have the same opportunity to raise your children in this type of environment, because this is a wonderful place. I've had a lot of different experiences, trials, tribulations throughout the years serving as your county commissioner. At no time did I step back and say, hey, wait a minute, is this the job for me? I kept on going, no matter what the odds were, no matter where we were going, no matter what we were doing. We had to see through it that you were assured the best in quality service and opportunity for your life, your lifestyle here in Indian River County. We are well sought after. A lot of people are coming down and a lot of people are coming up. And we want to make sure it stays just the way we need to have it, because that's why you live here. So I'm committed to be the conservative and responsive individual that I have been throughout many years of service to you, our public. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Ms. Siebert.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you for coming tonight and hearing all of us. I really appreciate it. An educated voter is a brilliant voter, so I appreciate you coming this evening. I grew up in Indian River County. Actually, my family has owned property here since it was occupied by Spain, according to my grandmother, and she started the theater here. My dad served on the county commission from 72 to 80, and Al Lee Loy was a very, very close friend of our family. And my uncle actually sat on the hospital board. His name was Charles Henry Walters Jr. If you go on the 5th floor, you'll see his portrait up there. All 3 of these influences sat me down and taught me that leadership is not about politics, it's about public service. Tonight I've been very careful to watch my pronouns. I haven't said I. I've talked about you. You are what is driving me to run for office. So in the past years, I've really felt that there's been a moral and ethical decay in career politicians. So I'm running for you to bring public service back into leadership. So government is not only by the people, but for it. I hear a lot about spending tonight. I don't want to spend your money. I want you to keep your money. You're the best steward of your own money. Big spending, big government is a bad idea, and it's bad for your liberty. So finally, in closing, I want to say, initially I ran because I wanted to give you a choice. And choice at the ballot box is what I'm talking about. Choice is liberty. That's what you have to hear. If I didn't run, you wouldn't have a choice tonight, or when you go to the ballots. So when I campaigned, I listened to everyone. I was accessible, I listened, and I tried to find solutions to help people, even though I wasn't a commissioner yet. And when I heard from them, I understood. I got it. I totally get it. You're tired of career politicians forgetting you after the election. The day after the elections, they don't take your calls. I heard that over and over again. That was a repeated problem. So I'm not a politician, I'm a public servant who looks forward to serving you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Binford.
Wow, that was great. Same here. I've got to give kudos where that was a great speech. I want to tell you, I was very nervous tonight. I've never been in front of such a large audience, but I'm putting myself out there because I really care about this community. There are a lot of topics that I have to learn about the community, but I'm willing to put myself out there for you, for our residents here in Indian River County. I failed to mention over the CSAC that referendum that was turned down by Orchid Island and Indian River Shores. That was me who started the ball rolling there. I reached out to our community, and the most beautiful thing that happened was that our community stepped up and our community went to those meetings and our community spoke up about how they felt. All I did was bring a concern up to the table, and I wanted to let everyone else know. So that's what I do. I want to protect the taxpayer. I want to research things. I just don't want to say, hey, that sounds really good, and that's what we need, especially when it comes to children. A lot of times they feed through us through our children. Let's do this for the children. Let's do that for the children. And that's how they take our taxes from us. Right now, CSAC is a great source of income for nonprofits, but we still have control of those funds. When it becomes a government taxing district, if it went on the referendum and was voted, because most people will see children and say, hey, we're going to support the kids. Well, that would no longer be a flexible account. We would be stuck paying that in a 12-year contract, not being able to vote on it every year. We would have to, and with an escalated millage, more taxes, more government. Like I said earlier, it's not a charity anymore, it's a government. I want to put myself out there for you. The choice is yours. I love the audience coming here today because that shows the Republican action. And that's what we need, a choice. I have a lot to learn, and I'm willing to learn, and I have a good work ethic. I would stay up for hours just to make sure that I'm on top of all the subjects. It's really hard to prepare for these. This is my first forum. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being here, and I'm going to work hard to do better next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Loar.
Well, thank you, ma'am, and on behalf of my campaign, I want to thank you, Ms. Osbourne. I also want to thank all of our friends that came out, our elected officials that are in the audience. I want to thank you and the families that are associated with you. And as important, the four other candidates that are sitting up here with me, I want to say thank you. Be proud and know, friends in the audience, that it's not easy to run for office. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Trust me. But I want to thank these candidates for taking the time to participate in that, because otherwise it would be a stagnant election, and we don't want that. So friends, I want to tell you, I've been retired for 13 months. This campaign is about recency and relevancy. Recency and relevancy. For over 12 years, I was at every county commission meeting since becoming sheriff at the end of 2008, and I continue to either attend or watch online, which is a lot of fun because you can have popcorn and chips in there and enjoy it. But think about recency and relevancy. I know about the $436 million budget that's currently in session right now from October 1 until September 30th. I lived it. I ran a 522-man agency, man and woman agency at the Sheriff's Office with over a $60 million budget. Did I get beat up a lot by the Board of County Commission? I was fighting for the men and women of the agency, strictly. It wasn't personal, and I've told each and every one of the commissioners and county administrators it's not personal. I've got to solve the problem here. The problem is retention and recruiting. And friends, I will tell you, as soon as we get that shored up and additional training, additional accreditation, being assigned to several significant posts by the governor's office over the last 13 years, makes me the most qualified. There's no doubt about it. I know the functions of the county, where the dollars are going, where they're coming from. Listen, when I lived it and fought for the budget for the sheriff's office, I turned over every rock that I possibly could to benefit the employees, which ultimately benefited the residents of Indian River County. So if you really think about that and you talk to a few friends around town, I'm the best candidate. I'm the most recently qualified candidate with respect to knowing what's going on, the ins and outs. We've got a lot of support in the community, and I truly think that's a reflection of the job that I did as your sheriff. There was no scandals or none of that. We ran a tight ship. I retired at 53 years of age. To be quite frank with you, because 32 years of law enforcement is enough for anyone. And I sat back and I knew that I'd purchased that house in 2017 in District 4. I had conversations with Peter O'Brien back then about my plans in 2022, and he indicated to me that he would not be seeking re-election after 2018. That's how that came about. As mentioned before, as a public servant all of my life, living off the government dollar, so to speak, but you know what? That's all I know. All I know is to be a public servant. I enjoy it. 169 days from today, I would love and I would humbly accept your vote. Thank you.
Well, let's all thank our candidates for coming today. Good job to all of you. And to thank you all for your attendance this evening. The Republican Club of Indian River hopes we accomplished our goal to help each of you make a more informed decision at the ballot box. For your information, primary election date is August 23rd. Early primary voting is August 13 to August 20. For those of you who are in the Republican Club or who would like more information, our next meeting will be April 11 at Point West Country Club. Have a good evening and drive safely.